Okay, let's talk about Martin Scorsese's 2013 epic, The Wolf of Wall Street. And I mean, this thing isn't just a movie, right? It's a full-on 3-hour shot of adrenaline. It just throws you headfirst into this world of insane excess, ambition, and the totally corrupting power of money. It's a story of greed and craziness that's just so American, and it really split audiences right down the middle. So let's get into it. Let's really unpack what makes this film so magnetic and, yeah, so controversial.
This quote, this is everything. This is the foundation of the whole story. It's the gospel according to Jordan Belfort. And you can just hear the fire in it, the conviction that turned him into this Wall Street monster. It's so bold, so completely unapologetic. And you know what? It's the perfect setup for the absolute moral black hole we're about to dive into.
You know, this really is the big question that's been hanging over this film since day one. Scorsese just shows you all the glamour, all the crazy parties, without ever really telling you, hey, this is bad. And because of that, a lot of people accuse the movie of, well, glorifying what Belfort did. The reaction was so split that audiences gave it a C cinema score, which is pretty wild and shows just how divided people were. So, what's the real story? Let's dig in and figure it out.
All right, so to really get the whole wolf thing, we got to go back to the beginning. Way before all the yachts and the literal mountains of cash, there was just this kid from Queens, super hungry, and with this just unbelievable gift for selling. This is how he shot to the top, and how it all got so corrupt. And you know, Belfort's background is a huge piece of the puzzle here. It's why people were so drawn to him. This guy wasn't some blue blood born with a silver spoon. Nope, he was a middle-class kid. His parents were accountants, and they lived in a tiny apartment in Queens. It's that classic American dream story, right? Rags to riches. And that's exactly what makes his eventual implosion so epic and, let's be honest, kind of seductive to watch.
So after he loses his first gig on Wall Street during the big Black Monday crash back in '87, Belfort could have just packed it in, but he didn't. Instead, he ends up in this boiler room out on Long Island slinging penny stocks, and that's where the light bulb goes off. He realizes his super aggressive sales pitch can make him an absolute fortune from those huge commissions, and boom, the seed for his own firm, Stratton Oakmont, was planted. And this is where you really see his twisted genius at work. His sales meetings, they weren't just meetings. They were more like high-energy church revivals. He was basically preaching salvation, but instead of finding it through faith, you'd find it by buying his stocks. He was like one of those super charismatic televangelists, putting himself right at the center of it all. He was the guy, the leader, who could fix all your problems. You know, as long as getting stupidly rich was the solution.
Now, here's the crazy part. Forbes magazine runs this big expose on him, right? Totally meant to take him down. But it backfires. Big time. Instead of warning people off, it makes him a legend. All these young, ambitious traders, the ones who didn't really care about rules, they saw him as a hero. They started flocking to Stratton Oakmont. It was literally the best recruitment ad he ever could have dreamed of, and it was supposed to be a takedown.
So now he's got this army of brokers and just an insane amount of cash flowing in. Stratton Oakmont wasn't a little boiler room anymore. It basically turned into a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. Seriously, this next part of the story isn't just about being rich. It's about a level of pure, uncut excess that you can barely even wrap your head around.
Okay, to really get a picture of how wild things got, just chew on this for a second. The year Jordan Belfort turned 26, he made $49 million. $49 million. And how did he react? He was pissed. Why? Because, and this is a direct quote, it was 3 shy of $1 million a week. That one line tells you everything you need to know. It shows this bottomless, almost sick level of greed that was driving the whole thing. It created this frantic, aggressive vibe that just infected the entire company.
And the movie just nails that relentless energy. I mean, it actually holds the Guinness World Record for dropping the F-bomb the most times in a feature film, 569 times. But here's the thing, it's not just there for shock value. It's like a verbal mirror of their reality, that high-pressure, curse-filled world where enough was a 4-letter word they never used.
And yeah, the lifestyle just went completely off the rails. We're talking rampant drug use, Quaaludes were basically a food group, and office parties so insane they had like actual animals in marching bands. And just zero regard for consequences. I mean, the guy sinks his 167-foot yacht in a storm and even crashes a helicopter high in his own backyard. It was just pure, unfiltered chaos.
Look, a party like that can't go on forever, right? Of course not. The bigger Stratton Oakmont got, the more attention it drew from the feds. So the third act is all about the downfall, the slow, careful, and totally inevitable way the FBI started to close the net around Belfort's whole empire.
This whole thing didn't just collapse overnight. It was a slow burn. The investigations actually kicked off in the early 90s. And that yacht sinking in 96? That wasn't just some crazy accident. He was literally on his way to Monaco to deal with his secret illegal bank accounts. But the real beginning of the end came in 98. One of his associates got busted and started talking. Belfort cut a deal to cooperate, but then he got caught trying to warn his partner with a note, which, is a big no-no. But even after all that, because he testified against everyone else, he got a ridiculously light sentence. Just 22 months in a cushy minimum security prison.
But the story doesn't just stop when Belfort gets out of jail. Oh no, this is where it gets really crazy. In a twist that you just can't make up, the story behind the movie is almost as shady as the movie itself. So let's get into the film's own messy, scandalous backstory.
Okay, but before we get into the scandal, you have to understand just how huge this movie was. It was an absolute monster at the box office. It cost about $100 million to make, and it pulled in over $400 million worldwide. It actually became Martin Scorsese's highest-grossing film ever. By every single metric, it was a massive, massive success.
So, where did all that money come from? That is the question, isn't it? See, this movie was stuck in development hell for years. Nobody wanted to fund it. Then, out of nowhere, this small indie company called Red Granite Pictures shows up and basically gives Scorsese a blank check. But where they got their money, well, that turned into a massive international scandal.
And the truth was just wild. The Department of Justice basically said that Red Granite funded the movie with money stolen from 1MDB, which was a Malaysian state fund. The producer, Riza Aziz, who just so happened to be the stepson of the Malaysian Prime Minister, got arrested for money laundering. The company ended up paying a $60 million settlement to the U.S. government. Oh, and you see that special thanks in the movie's credits? Yeah, that goes to Joe Lowe, the fugitive businessman who was the mastermind behind the whole scheme. I mean, come on.
So, if the dirty money behind the scenes wasn't enough, the movie itself is still a huge point of debate. That whole polarized reaction we talked about earlier, it just goes to show that people still can't make up their minds about one simple question. Is this film a brilliant takedown of greed, or is it just a dangerous celebration of it?
When you boil it all down, The Wolf of Wall Street is this blistering, hilarious, and dark journey right into the heart of American greed. It's raw, it's funny, and honestly, it's terrifying. It just shows you how that promise of endless wealth can completely and utterly corrupt a person, just stripping away every last bit of their morality.
And look, if there's one single thing you remember from all this, make it this. The biggest, most jaw-dropping twist in this whole story wasn't written into the screenplay. It's the stone-cold fact that a movie exposing a giant financial fraud was paid for by an even bigger, real-life, international corruption scheme. You just can't make this stuff up. It's unbelievable.
So where does that leave us? What are we supposed to take away from this? Is this whole story a warning? Is it a critique of our entire system? Or is it just holding up a mirror to a culture that secretly, or maybe not so secretly, loves a good bad guy? The film never really gives you a simple answer. And you know what? Maybe that's the whole point.
It's definitely a lot to chew on, and that's exactly what we try to do in these explainers. So if this breakdown helped you see the story in a new light, and if you want to keep diving into more stuff like this, do us a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe. It really does help us keep making these deep dives for you.
And hey, if you want to get the whole unfiltered story straight from the source, we've got links for you down in the description. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. I'll see you in the next one.